Okay, we're here this morning here at this lovely little park. It's called Remembrance Gardens, and it is dedicated to those who served in Canada's military, and most significantly, those who lost their lives. And may we never forget these men and women. These for men and women who have fought through the numerous wars that Canada has been involved in. We're here for 9/11 actually. Last year we laid a wreath in downtown London, and this year, out of sensitivity for the City of London because of the killing of the Muslim family this past June, we decided to hold it in this venue, this small venue, in honor of the people that have been killed during 9/11. We haven't rallied as Pegida Canada since last year at about this time. Our world right now is preoccupied with COVID-19 and everything that goes along with COVID-19, including the loss of our freedoms. And that certainly ties into what Pegida Canada does, because we also fight against tyranny from dangerous ideologies and governments. Today marks the 20th anniversary of the Islamist attack on the United States of America. This attack impacted so many more than Americans. It impacted the world and changed the way people thought, worked, and lived. This year is particularly poignant as we witness the takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban. Afghanistan was the country of refuge for the mastermind behind 9/11, Osama bin Laden. With this takeover of Afghanistan, experts are warning of the rise of Islamist groups being emboldened and becoming more active throughout the world. We also want to remember the 158 Canadian soldiers who were killed fighting in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was many others came home injured or suffered psychological wounds from the war. According to the Canadian Armed Forces, 191 veterans have taken their own lives since 2011. We mourn for them and we thank them for their service. Although we continue to see attacks by individuals around the world, we've seen nothing on the scale of 9/11. We haven't witnessed that in recent years. Having said that, each attack is one attack too many. Every psychological trauma connected with terror attacks is an additional fallout. Over the last 30 days, there were more than 92 Islamic terror attacks in 20 countries, in which 735 people were killed and 493 people were injured. That's just over the last 30 days. And since 9/11, there have been more than 39,000 terror attacks. In 20 years, 39,000 terror attacks throughout the world. Islamism is by no means limited to terror attacks. Particularly concerning this past week was a statement by one of our MPs, Maryam Monsef, who called the Taliban her brothers. This quickly moved out of the public eye. You didn't hear too much about that, especially mainstream media. But it is very, very concerning indeed to hear that. We've been told countless times that terrorists do not represent Islam. Yet, one of our MPs calls the Taliban terrorists her brothers. There has been no outcry from the mosques about the situation in Afghanistan, not as far as I can see, nor have imams condemned this. As a matter of fact, some have lauded this takeover by the Taliban. Mainstream media have put out a steady stream of articles about Islamophobia through the last few weeks. I think that this is totally disrespectful to all the victims of 9/11. What a time to put out articles like this. Thousands have lost their lives 20 years ago today because of this ideology. I just read an article in the National Post this morning, and they posed the question, has terrorism ceased to be an issue in Canada? That's an interesting question. We haven't seen any large-scale attacks lately, but we certainly do see Islamism. We see it in our government. We see it throughout Canada. And so although we have not seen attacks, we certainly do see Islamism. And where there is Islamism, there is jihad, whether that is jihad, physical jihad, or jihad in the government, the takeover, the pursuing of the caliphate. So Islamism equates to jihad, whether it's physical or non-physical. So our concern is not just terrorism, it is Islamism. As Canada prepares for an election and continues to grapple with COVID, Islamism is relegated to the back burner. But today we remember, today the world remembers. September 11 will remain in our memories as a dark day in history. 19 men hijacked 4 fuel-loaded U.S. commercial airplanes bound for West Coast destinations. A total of 2,977 people were killed in New York City, Washington, and outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The attack was orchestrated by the Islamist terror group Al-Qaeda. 26 of those who perished as a result of the attacks that day were Canadians or were connected to Canadians. Though we remember all of the victims, today we will focus on the Canadians. I'm going to give you a brief timeline of that day's events concerning Canadian content. 8:38 a.m. NORAD officials, including Canadians on duty, received the first alert of a possible hijacked plane moving towards New York City, American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston to Los Angeles. 8:45 a.m. The American Airlines jet, which had taken off 45 minutes earlier, crashes into the World Trade Center's North Tower after being reported as possibly hijacked 25 minutes earlier. One Canadian, a 70-year-old who became a U.S. citizen in 1962, is on board. 9:03 a.m. United Airlines Flight 175, also hijacked after taking off in Boston, flies into the South Tower. Saskatchewan native Garnet Bailey, a former NHL player and scout, is on board. 9:21 a.m. The Transport Canada Situation Centre in Ottawa begins activating for the emergency. 9:50 a.m. The collapse of the World Trade Center's South Tower. 9 Canadians inside are reportedly killed. 10:03 a.m. United Airlines Flight 93, whose co-pilot was married to a Canadian, crashes in Pennsylvania after being hijacked. 9:28 a.m. Collapse of the World Trade Center's North Tower. 13 Canadians inside are reported killed. 10:50 a.m. Prime Minister Jean Chrétien releases a statement which says, I'm going to quote it, "There can be no cause or grievance that could ever justify such unspeakable violence. Indeed, such an attack is an assault not only on the targets, but an offense against the freedoms and rights of all civilized nations." Between 11 and 11:30 a.m., streets around Parliament Hill and the Supreme Court of Canada are blocked by police after reports of a suspicious package in an abandoned car near the East Block. 11:17 a.m. All departures from Canadian airports are cancelled. 11:30 approximately. The Canadian forces take executive control of the airspace, normally a wartime measure. Security is increased Security is increased at military bases as well. The repercussions of 9/11 continue to be felt to this day around the world. Right now I'm going to read the names of the Canadian victims or victims associated with Canadians, after which one of our volunteers will place the wreath. We will have a moment of silence and then we will sing our national anthem. The Canadian victims of 9/11 were Michael Arzinski, Garnet Bailey, David Barkway, Ken Besnicki, Jane Beattie, Joseph Collison, Cynthia Connolly, Aaron Dack, Frank Joseph Doyle, Christine Egan, Michael Egan, Albert Elmari, Meredith Ewart, Peter Feidelberg, Alexander Filipov, Ralph Gearhart, Stuart Lee, Mark Ludvigsen, Bernard Mascarenhas, Colin MacArthur, Michael Peltier, Donald Robson, Rufino Santos, Vladimir Tomasevic, Chantel Vincelli, and Debbie Williams. We also remember Leroy Homer. Mr. Homer was the co-pilot of hijacked United Airlines Flight 93 that crashed in Pennsylvania. He was an American citizen, but his wife Melody was from Hamilton, Ontario. We'll just have Tim place the wreath and then we'll have a moment of silence.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
God keep our land glorious and free.